Okay, so welcome once again. Warm welcome to our webinar today. I'm Karima, the European coordinator of the United Religions Initiative, URI, and we have here Leila, also of URI Europe, wonderful, and Riaz of Baraza, and our beautiful speakers and URI leaders from global and from different countries. So warm welcome to all of you. So Baraza and URI Europe, we are delighted to offer this webinar on the occasion of the World Interfaith Harmony Week. And yeah, please use the chat to introduce yourselves. Let us know where you're from, what your organization is, or share any details that you'd like to share, the website of your organization or your contact details, and we'll be delighted to be in touch with you. So before handing over to Riaz, I'd like to share a few details about URI because not everybody might be familiar with United Religions Initiative. So URI is the global grassroots interfaith network, and we have right now over 1,000 member organizations, grassroots organizations. We call them cooperation circles, CCs, and many of you are familiar with them or belong to them. So that means, and they are in over 100 countries, that means in over half of the world, there is an interfaith URI presence. So membership is open to any group which has a diversity of members, at least 7 members of 3 different faith traditions or indigenous traditions, or also worldviews, so including humanism and atheism. So there must be a diversity, and you need to subscribe to the beautiful ideals of the URI Charter. And then anybody, any existing group or new group could join as a member. And for some time now, there is also individual membership. So if you're interested in that, contact us. So last but not least, just to mention that URI has a consultative status with the United Nations, and there is strong youth engagement. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Riaz. Welcome again.
Thank you, Karima. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Really pleased to be with you all today. I thank you, first of all, for being with us today to mark the UN's World Interfaith Harmony Week. My name is Riaz Ravat, and I'm the Secretary General of Baraza, which is an independent international non-profit organization. Now, Baraza is a Swahili word meaning council or meeting place. It is simply a place where people get together, share news, ideas, and try together to solve some common problems. It is in this spirit that Baraza was formed in 2017 in Munich, in Germany. Baraza is dedicated to the global promotion of peaceful thinking, tolerance in areas of culture and religion, and understanding among nations. We believe in ideals of acceptance, understanding, and coexistence. Our work is expanding all the time. We have run several programs, including seminars, conferences, courses, and events. We were responsible for the concept, planning, and delivery of the exhibition, Tolerance, Understanding, Coexistence, which is the Sultanate of Oman's message of Islam. We have created a world religions coloring book for kids, which is available in 16 languages and is available to download from our website. Hard copies are available too, and I have a copy here. So there are plenty more of these available to distribute. Our flagship life skills program is called Unity. Now, Unity is an exciting, inspiring scheme for young people. It builds self-confidence and provides an encounter-based learning environment to create citizens who are open-minded, skilled, and resilient to face some of society's challenges. Children in Munich have already benefited from Unity, and we wish to expand this further. Finally, I would like to thank all of our partner organizations for this series, and particularly the URI team, Angelina, Karima, and Leila, with whom I've worked with on numerous initiatives, I must say. They are the most remarkable and simple and easy colleagues to work with, I have to say, and I pay tribute to their efforts. They make life so much easier for people like myself, so thanks to them. And finally, please do follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or indeed visit our website, which is www.baraza.ngo. Dankeschön, or thank you.
Wonderful, Riaz. Thank you so much. It's always great to partner with you. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Lauren to give us a little introduction, because URI is also doing a lot in that field of climate action. So over to you, Lauren. So good you are with us. And I'll share a little bit about you in the chat, your bio information.
Thank you, Karima, Leila. Hello, Europe. Hello, URI. I am joining you today from California in the United States, and it is my pleasure to share with you the three main things that URI is doing in our response to what we are all experiencing as global climate chaos. It shows up in different ways depending on where we live. It looks different, but there are three things that we're really trying to do at URI. The first is that we're providing tools and resources that offer education and inspiration across the URI network, so that the cooperation circles can both share their own expertise in places where they have made headway on restoring Earth or taking climate action, but also so that other cooperation circles can come and learn. We also have global partners, partner organizations, UNEP, we work with UNEP quite a bit. We also work with Green Faith. And these NGOs are ways that we, in a unified global way, start to create solidarity and can start to do more actions, even like divesting from fossil fuels and holding international days of action. We come together around days like World Environment Day or World Water Day. And this is the third way that URI is really responding. Because we are an interfaith organization, because we are at our core people of faith and people of different spiritual expressions and traditional knowledge, we want to respond from a place of peace and ceremony and celebrating Earth because we love her and she sustains us. So the third thing that we're doing is really coming together so that we can be in celebration and acknowledging our water and celebrating our indigenous members and the wisdom that they hold for us and how we care for Earth. So I'm just going to share with you one thing in the chat box and one slide so that you can have an image of our cooperation circles at work here. Hopefully that's coming up. There we go. So here's an example of our URI cooperation circles who are using drawdown solutions and looking at the SDGs so that in sort of an intersectional way, we can be working toward equity and sustainability for all, and also really, really bringing greenhouse gas emissions out of the atmosphere and sequestering them in carbon. If drawdown is a new concept for you, I've put it in the chat. You can check out some of their solutions there. And at URI, we're focusing on about 11 of these drawdown solutions, but there are many. And my email is in the chat. And if you have other questions or ideas about ways that your cooperation circle would like to learn more or share a presentation, I would really love to hear from you. So thank you for all that you're doing to care for Earth. And I will hand it back over to Karima and Leila. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. I'm always inspired by the work. And just to say, you mentioned UNEP. UNEP is United Nations Environmental Program. And it's really stunning if you look at the drawdown solutions that things like educating girls actually help the climate. So I encourage you to get in touch. And maybe when we have the questions and the answer section, we'll also hear from some of our CCs. So some new people are joining us. Welcome to everybody. And I'd like to hand over now to our second speaker, and that's Maria Reis-Habito. Warm welcome, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Karima and Lauren, for this wonderful short presentation. Riaz for the introduction. Everyone, a big welcome. I'm located in the US in Dallas, Texas, and I'm the International program director of the Museum of World Religions. And as such, I was privileged to attend a meeting that was called Faith and Science, which is an initiative by the Vatican, Pope Francis, based on Laudato Si, his environmental encyclica, to bring together religious leaders, scientists, and yes, mainly religious leaders and scientists to find solutions for the climate crisis, and also to prepare a joint appeal by the religious leaders that was then handed over by Alok Sharma, the president of COP26, to the nations to follow. And the understanding behind this is that 80% of the world's population belongs to some faith tradition. And so they have a great impact in how they can work towards healing of the earth and making changes in their own communities and then healing the earth. And so the Chinese saying is it's better to see it once than to have it heard so many times. So I would just like to show you a short video about this meeting in the Vatican, which of course also includes a statement of my boss in Taiwan, which is Dharma Master Xindao, who is the founder of the Museum of the World Religions. So if Karima, you could just go ahead and show this 4-minute video. Thank you.
Human qualities, reason and morality.
At the meeting, Faith and Science towards COP26, Pope Francis, scientists, and religious leaders sign and formally present their appeal to the president of COP26, Alok Sharma. COP26 is the 26th United Nations Climate Change Conference. COP stands for Conference of the Parties.
It is an honor to receive this appeal. Through science, we understand the damage that we're inflicting on our planet and its peoples. Through morality, we comprehend our responsibility to restore the planet, but doing so requires us all to play our part.
Representatives from the Christian, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Zoroastrianism, and Jainism faiths came together online in discussions that the Vatican and embassies of the UK and Italy to the Holy See have hosted several times this year to understand the science and urgency of achieving net zero carbon emissions.
Children born today or having her first birthday, like one of my grandchildren called Amy, have a high probability that when they are 60, they live in a largely inhabitable world. The degradation of our common home due to climate change is a symptom of deeper social ills. Starting point is the promotion of ethics in consumption, including sufficiency approaches, no waste.
At the meeting, scientists and religious leaders spoke about the need for more promotion on the topics of enough and sharing more. They agreed that carbon emissions need to be taxed and commitments by governments and businesses need to be put into action. But most importantly, people must know that they have to do something now. Lingzhou Mountain Buddha Society founder Dharma Master Xindao shared his thoughts via a video message.
要解决问题，只有让浩劫的造作者觉醒，认清灾劫正在发生，而且谁都逃不掉。希望各宗教们团结起来，让广大的追随者回归灵性。
In the Holy Quran, nature talks to God, to Allah, just like humans.
We need this dialogue in order to coexist with one another as human beings and as part of God's sacred creation.
And Laudato Si.
In Taiwan, Lingzhou Mountain Buddha Society followed up on the effort by holding a press conference to further bring attention to climate change. Monsignor Arnoldo Catalan, the Vatican's representative to Taiwan, also attended the event and presented Lingzhou Mountain with a copy of Pope Francis's Laudato Si, the encyclical he wrote in 2015 that criticized the behavior which led to global warming and called for everyone to take action.
It is our hope that the joint appeal for COP26 and Laudato Si, in one way or another, will touch the hearts of people beyond denominational lines around the world to come together to care for the earth and all its peoples. Since when it comes to preserving our common home, the earth, We are all in this together.
我们教宗啊，很不简单，就连接了各宗教。上帝创造的可能也是说，彼此是一个互济共生的，本来的循环忘失了，所以我们就变成现在这个灾难。我现在做一个生态大学，那我们也把整个永续的这种教育，用各个专家也来把它做好，变成一个好的教育。
Over video conference, Dharma Master Xingdao thanked the Pope and reminded his followers that people and Earth are from the same origin and depend on each other.
这个转变是非常的困难，每一个人都要参加。以宗教的立场做这个事情，我觉得是非常有意义，因为宗教本身呢，它是一个精神教育，它的信仰的力量。它可以改变一个人的生活习性跟个性。
On October 31st, COP26 will begin in Glasgow, UK, where political leaders will meet and update their plans on reducing greenhouse emissions. In the appeal led by Pope Francis, political leaders are urged to adopt measures to limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and for rich countries most responsible for greenhouse gas emissions to finance emission reductions for poor nations.
Thank you so much, Karima. And if we could now have the one document where I have a list of resources of organizations, how they are addressing what their concrete actions are towards taking care of the environment and changing awareness. And as Dharma Master Xingdao mentioned in his talk, our approach as the Museum of World Religions is to work towards return to the spiritual. So there is a deep understanding that unless we are becoming more familiar with spiritual ecology, that we will have great difficulties in handling this crisis. And so this is the understanding that the religious leaders also brought forward in this meeting, that we are dealing here with a moral crisis in the way that we treat the earth and treat other human beings. So if we want to work for the well-being of the earth, we also have to work for social justice, address poverty and all these other issues, because they're deeply interlinked. So if we could have this one, this is a list of resources I put together based on these meetings that we had throughout the months, where different organizations offered their own suggestions on what can be done to, and part of that is educational, part of it is new investments, divesting. Yeah, here we go. So if you don't know that yet, Karima had also mentioned it, the Faith for Earth initiative of UNEP. It's a very clear view on religions, their teachings about the environment and actions that they take to address the crisis. So this Faith for Earth call for action. And you may know that right now the UN also has this assembly from February 21 to March 4. Then faithplans.org actually tells religious communities what exactly they can do to address climate crisis in their own settings, to use their own assets and investments. And then Laudato Si action platform by the Vatican is an educational tool which religious communities can also access, and they will also get advice on what they can do in their specific conditions to address climate change, how they can really use the resources of their own communities. And on a very, this World Resources Institute, it's based in the US, and they also are tools for community to address. They do research into the settings, into the researches of the communities, and again give them specific advice how they can work towards change. What Lauren also mentioned, the Divest campaign, I must say that especially the Protestant churches highlighted their participation in the Divest campaign, which is to divest, of course, from fossil fuel and investing resources of religious communities and other forms of investments. And if you think about great religious communities, churches, and so on, they have lots of funds for their retirement, for all kinds of things that they are using, and it makes a huge difference. And so if you go to their website, you see that I think this was, I don't know how many years this is, these 39.88 trillion US dollars, but it can make a great impact in divesting from polluting industries. And the Shine campaign, CatholicImpact.org, is something similar, especially for the Catholic institutions, also to think about their investments and change it. Lauren had also mentioned Green Faith. Fletcher Harper is also a member of our community who also organizes people in small circles, what Lauren had described. Then the UN program of greening the houses of worship. This was also a great discussion because all of us have, of these religious communities, have so many houses of worship. For example, we have one great big center in Myanmar near the Shwedagon Pagoda. And one of our meetings was also about how we can make this as the first completely ecologically sustainable building in Yangon. So these are also parts of the discussions. Then Rajwan Singh with EcoSikh, he is based in the US, a Sikh organization, and they plant trees around the world, and they have a specific way in doing it. Those are forests. So they use native plants that have the best chance to survive and plant these around and helping people to decide where exactly around their houses of worship or even in their own backyards they can help the earth by planting all these trees. And then the Living Peace Projects, this is an organization, it's headed in the Netherlands, and they work specifically on water, drinking water, sanitations, projects in India and so on. And they are also comprised by religious leaders who work together on these specific topics. And they are planning a big meeting in Amsterdam this summer to raise awareness about water. And finally, this was also mentioned in the video, the University of Life of Peace, which is our own project, is related to the Museum of World Religions. And it's based on the idea of loving the earth and what are the tools that we need to develop to love the earth. And so it comes back to spiritual ecology. In combination with, of course, having scientific know-how and scientific approaches. So we work in interdisciplinary fields together with universities around the world. I'm afraid that I'm running out of time, but if we could just show the last 2 slides to show how the awareness about the importance of the ecology is raised in Taiwan. This is our new exhibit that we did for the 20th anniversary of the museum this past November. And it shows, this is the Avatam Saka world. It's a Buddhist idea of this interconnected globe. And now we can do like a sound and a program that throws these slides on this really big globe behind our religious buildings exhibit. And you see the questions, what kind of environment do we want to live in? And so there will be a film that shows the melting of the ice and so on. And to show the visitors that this is really, we are all interconnected, and this beautiful earth of ours is in grave danger of no longer remaining sustainable. If you could have the next slide, which will be the last one, and I think my time is probably up. And so this is one of the other slides showing people, this is what the earth used to be like, and we want to work towards that. So it's visually very stunning, and it has a great emotional impact. And you just see some of the religious leaders who were celebrating the 20th anniversary in Taiwan, and they also have a very, very strong interfaith alliance now working on ecological issues. I'm afraid my time is probably up, and so I want to leave it at that, but perhaps we could copy this list of resources into the chat so that people can take it home and look at it in more detail.
Thank you so much, Maria. I think it's stunning how many initiatives exist, and also the list of resources. That's really amazing. And I think we can publish it and also send it around to participants later, and publish it on our website and all of that, so that many people can access these.
Yes.
So
and I
thank
must
you.
say it is very inspiring to participate in these faith meetings and see the good energies that come from faith leaders and communities. So there is now a new reappraisal of the importance, the important contribution that faith has to in combating climate change.
Yeah, indeed. And there is that consciousness of wholeness and the spiritual traditions. And so there is a natural connection.
So we are a family. And so this really raises new awareness.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. And so I'd like to call upon Sister Maureen to share your wisdom with us. So good to have you with us too. Warm welcome.
Thank you, Karima and Laurent and everybody. And thank you for inviting me. Also, thanks to my friend Maria, who invited me to be part of this with you. And yes, the Brahma Kumaris that I represent, a world spiritual university that has its headquarters in India. And we have centers in now, I think, about 120 countries. And we really help people, of course, with the process of meditation and spiritual development. But the important thing is how to bring that into action in your life, how to live it. It's not something just to do privately. It's something that is absolutely transformative for society. And we've been active in climate change and environmental issues for many years. And I also wanted to emphasize, like Maria, the importance that faith communities have in bringing about being powerful agents for social change, especially in the environmental field. And I think it was really in Paris in 2015 that the faith-based, at COP in Paris, I have to say, that the faith-based organizations began to be taken more seriously and to be more included. And I was in Glasgow now at COP26, and it's a pattern that's continuing. Still, the voice isn't included enough, but there is definitely progress, I feel. So since 2009, we've been very active at the climate change conferences, and in particular, encouraging deep research and thought into the connection between our own state of consciousness and the state of the earth. And at the heart of this is the idea that there really is a confluence of two living systems, the living system of the earth and the living system of thought. And so our consciousness not only determines our attitudes and the atmosphere we create in the world, but it's the basis of our motivation, of our value systems, and of course, ultimately, our decision and our policy making. And so from a spiritual perspective, of course, change begins with that change in individuals and in communities, and then, of course, ripples out. And so for our Brahma Kumaris Environment Initiative, we have 5 main principles that we seek to put into our own lives personally and into our communities. So living with simplicity, buying compassionately, using economically, learning continuously, and sharing generously. So these are our 5 principles, and we're striving to green our centers as much as possible through recycling, using environmentally friendly products, avoiding plastics, and so on. But I also want to highlight a particular project that is happening at the headquarters of the Brahma Kumaris, which is in Mount Abu in Rajasthan in India. And there it's a desert area. It's an area that lacks a lot of basic amenities for the local people, but it does have plenty of sunshine. And so in partnership with several governments and organizations, we have developed India One, which is a 1 megawatt thermal solar power plant, which was commissioned in 2018. It's not a commercial project. The technology is freely shared or at a very small cost. And along with the development of this project has, of course, been capacity building for the local community. So it's created employment opportunities and skills training of a local workforce, contributed to the overall well-being and improvement of the local population, including healthcare checkups and so on. They've also, in connection with this, organized de-addiction camps, provision of clean drinking water, and has contributed to the upliftment of Indigenous women by providing fair employment and training. So overall, it's added to the work of the eradication of poverty in that area. And of course, part of what we offer too for spiritual capacity building is meditation and spiritual development. The Brahma Kumaris are now one of the largest institutional users of solar energy in India. So we've brought solar energy to many towns and villages in India with solar cookers, lamps, electricity generation. And in Mount Abu, we actually have one of the largest, it used to be the largest solar cooker in the world. And it can cook up to 16,000 meals at a time. So it really is quite something to see. And I wanted to now show you a video of India 1, the solar power plant. And I'll see if I can successfully share the screen. And I have a little help at hand. If not, yes, this is it. Share. Oh, share sound. Thank you. And now, yeah. Right. And you can play it. Okay. Thank you. I think I have 4 more minutes. You can see that it's pretty impressive. And it's now fully operational and supplies power to about 30,000 people. It's also become a training center. From 2014 to 2017, India One became an awareness come training center on concentrating solar thermal technologies under UNDP, United Nations Development Programme. In just these few minutes, I also wanted to mention another project. Organic farming was mentioned, and we've developed in India the concept of sustainable yogic agriculture. So I'll just mention that very briefly in a research project carried out by the Rural Development Wing of the Brahma Kumaris in India. And it involves meditating in the fields at the crucial stages of crop development. So when the seeds are being sown and when the seedlings are coming up, right through to the harvesting. And there's actually, it says here 1,000, I think it's many, many more now. Farmers in India, I know in Maharashtra, around Mount Abu in Gujarat, and there may be more by now, but they're combining organic farming with meditation, and it's showing quite remarkable results. And the data collected suggests improved seed quality, increasing crop yield, increasing nutrition of the vegetables, and this is all through sharing vibrations, good, positive, powerful vibrations. And it's resulted in lower cost of farmers and reduce the pressure on the environment. And of course, a very big benefit has been an improvement in farmers' emotional well-being and enhanced community resilience. And you probably know the situation in India where because non-organic methods have been used for so long, and because of the way in which the big companies have worked with the farmers and exploited them, farmers have not been able to get their yields, not been able to sustain their families, and many have committed suicide. And that's been an ongoing story for some time. And so it's methods like this that can really show a new way and a different way of uplifting, increasing, the farming methods, but also uplifting the community. And and of course, it comes back to that connection of the consciousness and the earth. And recently in the Spirit of Humanity Forum, which I'm part of, a French astronaut shared something about his feelings for the earth. And I just wanted to quote what he said because it struck me a lot. He said, "The earth doesn't need to be saved. She just needs to be loved." So on that note, thank you, and Om Shanti. Bye.
Thank you so much, Sister Maureen, and for reminding us about the relationship between inner state and state of the world. And it touches so many different levels, from community to nature to our souls. So I'm grateful for you to tell us about it and remind all of us. That's wonderful. And I think it's great that you are doing research about this in our world, where we also want the scientific facts. So it's great. I think there should be that research, and I wish you all the best and that it gets multiplied all around the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So we have had so amazing inputs from our speakers, Lauren and Maria and Sister Maureen. We have some time for conversations now, and I'd like to hand to Leila to lead us into that conversation time. So you could ask questions to our speakers or share your own insights and experiences. Leila, Over to you.
Thank you very much. And I also want to use this opportunity to thank our great speakers for accepting invitation and sharing their wide knowledge with all of us, because this topic is so important for all of us. We are all living in this earth, and if we don't take care about that, we will lose our only home. So it is extremely important to discuss about this topic, and also thank all of you for making your time this evening, morning or afternoon to joining us and spending some time with us. We have more or less around 15 minutes dedicated to question and answer, and I know that it's not a lot of time when you have this interesting topic as we have, but I just would like to open the floor for any of you who would like to either share some of your comments or maybe you have some of the questions. Also, you may post some of them in the chat option if you feel more comfortable on that way. And if you would like to ask a question, I want to invite you to use this reaction button, which is on the lower right corner that you should see at your Zoom screen. And there you have option raise hand. And if you raise hand, then we will see that you are eager to ask or comment something. If it seems to be difficult to you, then just raise hand and I will spot it and I will give you floor to either comment or ask something. So floor is all yours. If you would like to comment or have some questions, please use this opportunity to ask our wonderful speakers. Okay, it seems that our audience is quite okay. Anna, I would like to ask something. Yes, Anna, please, floor is yours.
Okay, dear. First of all, thank you for this activity. Okay, I enjoyed very much, and even I arrived late because I have a very bad internet, but I'm happy finally to be able to be here and listening the good talks of the wonderful speakers. And I just want to comment that I have working for 20 years here in Venezuela. I am from Venezuela. I live in Caracas. I'm the regional coordinator for URI in Latin America. And I have 20 years working with Brahma Kumaris in the interreligious dialogue. And I have the grace of being in Montabu, invited by them, and to have an interview with Daddy Yankee. And I really appreciate very much, Maureen, Sister Maureen, all the work that you do in the world, because you are serious, because you are a future, and because you love. I love the quote you say at the end of your talk. Thank you for this quotation. Thank you for the work that you are doing in all over the world. And I'm happy to be able to be here and listening to you and remember all the beautiful experience that you have in Montabu, in the Peace University. Thank you, Karima, Lehla, and the organizers for giving us this opportunity. Thank you, dear, thank you.
Thank you, dear Anna, very much for joining us despite the problems with internet connection. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today, and thank you for your lovely comment. We are happy to hear that you already have so nice collaboration with the community. Are there any other question or comments that maybe some other of our participants would like to ask? Yes, Salet, please.
Everybody, nice to hear so beautiful experiences. But I would like to say also that I visited this installation in Montabu, and I was so proud of Brahma Kumaris. And I don't know if you said, Maureen, how many meals they cook every day with this energy. I didn't heard it.
16, up to 16,000 meals a day can be cooked with that solar cooker. Yeah.
It's wonderful. And I met the engineer, the German engineer who brought this project. I met him on the train going from Delhi to Montabu. It was nice. So, and let me say that we are working here in Brazil with together with many organizations. URI is one of them, and we founded last year Ecumenical Water Network, and we are proud of this project because water is one of the most important things in the world. And we will have, together with another organization, Ágora dos Habitantes da Terra, it's the name. The project will be 100,000 young people for water. This will be starting in March, and I will tell you more about this after when it really starts.
Wonderful.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Then definitely we need to have follow-up on this webinar, as there is so many information coming up from different sides. It will be interesting to hear. Yes, Dr. Habito, you would like to add something?
Yes, I would like to thank Maureen, and also I invited Maureen because she's simply wonderful and so knowledgeable, but also because I was in the preparation of COP26 and it continues, our group continues. Now we will work towards COP27, but Maureen was actually attending COP26, and I thought she wrote to me a few things that were quite helpful, because many of us felt that COP26 wasn't such a success. You know, we didn't really reach all the things that we were hoping for. But maybe Maureen could share some of her impressions about attending this meeting and what is hopeful for us. Maureen, if you would, please.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we know that in terms of the governments and putting together an agreement, you know, it was not as ambitious as any of us would have liked. I'm being quite polite, but and it was the first time that I was really witnessing, seeing how the whole thing worked. And one thing that's not so hopeful first, the largest delegation was actually from the fossil fuel industry. So there was over 500 from the fossil fuel industry, and the next largest delegation was from Brazil, 400 something. So yes, you wonder, what are they doing there? But to see the change, I really feel the change is coming from, you know, the grassroots up. It has to. And in particular, one group, well, they'd invited us in as partners, the Institute for Advanced Sustainability, IASS, Institute of Advanced Sustainability, something's gone away, and they're connected with Potsdam Institute in Germany, and they're really researching into how the communication and the dialogue happens within COP, and how the negotiations happen. And they had a space there they called a co-creative and reflective dialogue space. And we were able to do a few things there. And I think that was the only space of its kind in COP, actually. In fact, I'm sure it was, where people could actually dialogue together. People could feel it was a safe space. People could feel that they could actually share some of the dilemmas that were going on inside their hearts. And I know previously when we've worked with negotiators, you know, sometimes they've expressed to us how terribly conflicted they feel, because they see that the government, they have to say the government line of their government, but yet they know in their hearts that so much more is needed. So I feel that, you know, I felt was very hopeful that this kind of institute is able to host this right in the mainstream. Well, they are from the mainstream too. And so just seeing the different initiatives, you know, that was hopeful. And I just hope that, you know, it's just going to build from there. yeah, I think that's, I don't remember what else I wrote to you, whether it was about that or about something else, but
I think the involvement of young people, the change of awareness.
yes,
The silver lining, yes.
Yes, young people, I mean, a lot of young people involved. And, you know, on the plenary panels, they did have some young people speaking, which was very good. Yeah, what can I say? You know, it's young leadership that's going to do it because they feel the urgency more than anybody. They don't see a future without change, you know? So, yeah, thank you.
So the World Resources Institute has very good evaluations about what happened in COP26 and what still needs to be done. But I also read one report where I think he was the climate negotiator for the USA, and his takeaway was that politically there are big differences between, for example, the US and China on Taiwan and so on. But the fact that we now can come together on the climate and have conversations about climate also has a political positive effect. So this climate crisis does bring nations together in trying to address these huge challenges that we have in common over and beyond all these political tensions that they still have. So I thought that was also an interesting point of view for me.
And also there was something else that people say, you know, whereas in previous COPs, there were still arguments as to, well, how big is the crisis, etc., etc. But now that argument's not there. It's just, it's here. What do we do? So that's another step forward. But I think the initiative of science and religion is very important because until, you know, these two need to come together, and they're a great force when they come together. And I think originally, I don't know how many hundreds of years back, science and religion were not separate in the same way. And so this has been the, you know, it's like things coming full circle, and our world has to come back to what is original and what is real. So I'm hoping we're on that journey.
And I think one of the reasons they put these two together was in the hopes that the religious leaders, after listening to the scientists, will be so convinced that they can address their communities. And if you look at our country, the US, there are many communities still that don't believe in climate change. And so it's trying to address that kind of hesitancy to really give scientific information so that climate change deniers have something to look at, or at least religious leaders become more informed and then have the arguments that they can supply to help their communities understand what's going on.
Great, thank you very much for this input. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but if I may use this last minute that we have for Q&A to ask each of you, our dear speakers today, to use 15-20 seconds just to share with us one piece of advice that you can give for all of us here today on this call, and all of those who may watch this later on our YouTube channel, what all of us can do right here, right now, when we exit this Zoom meeting. What is one very simple advice that you can share with us, what we can do, as Sister Marine said, to love this earth more, or to contribute a little bit to the climate crisis that is unfortunately happening all over us. So Lauren, if you would like to start, then Dr. Habito, and we will finish with Sister Marine.
Well, Layla said one, and of course I have two, but the first one is to read through that list that I know Layla and Karima will share of all of these groups. URI works with these groups as well. Just choose one and start getting your feet wet. Be involved there. And second, when you end this call today, go outside or look out your window and be in relationship with the first thing you see. Let that be your prayer.
Beautiful, Lauren, thank you. Dr. Habito.
Lauren said the 2 points that I would also have highlighted: to be in community and to be in deep communion with nature. And it can even happen in a city. I went out the other morning and there was a pair of geese flying over and calling. So just to feel that this is our life that is connected. We are not separate from that.
Thank you. I very much echo that. And I would say, okay, spend time, little time each day to go inside and really listen to your heart, to your conscience, and to your deep inner wisdom that is there, and then act proactively on that. Don't let there be a gap. Let it come into action. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for these lovely and inspiring messages. And now back to Karima.
Thank you for all the inspiration you gave us and for community here being together. It was so nice to hear from people and also in the chat. And also for those of you who stayed silent, still your presence is felt. So thank you for joining us. So we'd like to take a short moment and ask you for feedback to everybody. So I will share my screen one more time. And we have prepared a little gadget, Mentimeter. So let me just share the screen. So here we go. Here is an question for you. And you could either go to, can you see it on the top of the screen? www.menti.com and then put in the code 78109437. And I don't know if I can put it in the chat while I'm sharing. Oh, Leila has already put it. Great. So, or if you don't feel comfortable with Menti, just write it into the chat. But please share with us one learning or inspiration from today. Have you learned something new or have you been inspired? And please, could you share that as a feedback for us and for the speakers, so that we know, hopefully from all of you, if there has been something. So that's a plea question. And I will just wait a few moments, give you that chance.
Anyway, let me put it here.
So it's www.menti.com. And then we need to enter a code, which is 78109437. Menti.com and then 78109437. And I think if anybody enters something, we should see it on the screen. 78109437. You feel also free to write into the chat if that's too much hassle to go to menti.com. Don't feel fine. Here we go. The power of faith-based organizations to connect with local community for building climate resilience and nurture them for the future. Let's see if something else is coming up. That there are people across the world acting to make a difference. Talking about climate change is really important, but the creative ideas are so inspiring. Just give a few more moments. Leila, can you read in the chat as I'm sharing my screen?
Of course, Dr. Habita said, I was very inspired by the example Sister Marine gave about the farmers meditating in the fields, helping the plants grow. Yeah. Indeed, it was very inspiring. And yeah, please, all of us, feel free to put your inputs in the chat. We can add that later on to the Menti as well.
Yeah. Just read the new ones to know that most people want a better world. We just need to support each other indeed. That gives us permission to act. And to take every day time to go inside myself, into my heart, and act on that inspiration.
I'll get back to the screen. Oh, there it is.
Just so nice to meet and listen to engaged people. Did not know about URI before. Thank you. Thank you. Large infrastructure change like solar combined with our intimate relationships with the entire living system. Love is the key to act, face nature and all living beings. So love is central. Great. Thank you so much for your comments. Just made a little bit longer, see if somebody else wants to share something. And I think you can even do it later on. Thank you for your beautiful feedback. Yeah, that's great. And there is a second question, so I'm not sure. I must admit it's the first time I'm using this presentation mode of Menti. So let me see. I think I need to go out here. Yeah, somehow it's not moving to the next one, but let me go. Just one moment. Okay, here we come. Present that one. So some have already found it prior to myself, which is great. So the second one is, how will you use today's takeaway in your work that has inspired you, or which you just mentioned or haven't mentioned but have in your mind or heart? How would you use it in your future work? So it's again the same Menti, and there is a second slide which I hope you will find also. It's the same. And use the chat, please, and feel free to that. So I will use today's learning to share it with my colleagues from different faiths about the amazing work globally. These examples inspire us to step up and take action.
And Anna added in the chat that Shiva daily meditation is what she will be using in her work, which is, I think, great that all of us can do for sure.
Yeah. So have we other things that you'd like to take away? Just see a few moments. The good feelings of today and the facts we heard give us hope and make sure we do not give up. So I'll remember this. I'll continue to work in solidarity with all of you and others. Great. So do you have some more insights? To share some of the questions and projects with a large group on an ecological project with starting from an ecological conversation.
Conversion.
From an ecological conversion. Do you like to say what it is, an ecological conversion? Who put it, if you like to? Any way to share some of the questions and projects with a large group on an ecological project? Great. Do we have any other comment in the chat, Leila?
No, and I think that probably we can wrap up with this, as we
excellent
are already over the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to stick to the time, even though there is so much more to be said. Thank you again for the inspiration and for the facts, for being here together. And I think there is more to be shared, obviously, so maybe we can have a follow-up later, and we'll share the resources with you. And I'd like to mention briefly that there will be more webinars coming up because we have a whole World Interfaith Harmony month. So in this Baraza and URI series, there is a webinar next Tuesday on the 15th. That's also part of a global series, which is the magic of food. That time it will be 3 hours earlier. It's at 2 Central European time, and it's about how to use food and meals together for reconciliation. We'll have insights from different continents, Russia and Uganda and the Netherlands. So stay tuned, join us for that one, consider joining us. And on Thursday, the 24th of February, at the same time as today, we have a webinar, Can History Help? Creative Approaches to Peacemaking and Tolerance in Europe, which is really so interesting. We have a partner who's working a lot with young people, and they create lessons from history and reflections on history. So yeah, come to that. There is so many more activities on this Friday, there is a storytelling event, so look out for that one. And so with that, please be in touch, keep in touch. Thank you again for coming. Thank you, Leila. Thank you, Riaz. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Dr. Habitu. Thank you, Maureen. And thank you, global family, global leaders, global URI leaders for coming. Have a beautiful evening and hope to see you again
for
soon.
coming. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Om
Bye-bye.
Shanti. Om
Bye.
Shanti.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.